What's up, everybody? It's Brandon from Box Office Banner and Cult Flick Symposium, and we are back with, you guessed it, another Fast and the Furious installment. This one, we are on to number 7. I'm going to come flat out and say it. I remember liking this one a little more, but it is because I had forgotten that, you've heard me say it in my other reviews, that this is the one, actually, where started to wane a little bit. It completely jumped the shark. If this is the shark, they were jumping it in 5 and 6, and this one, they're soaring over that motherfucker in terms of ridiculousness. This movie is flat out fucking ridiculous. This is where it starts. Does that mean I don't like it, though? Yeah, we'll see. This movie, man, let's just talk about it. We got parts 5, part 6. We're starting to journey our way into ridiculous stunt territory. Shit that is just otherworldly, outlandish. How in the hell could you survive that territory? Parts 5 and 6, though, it's like they dance with it. Yes, if you're looking at it on paper, like in part 5, there's that scene where Paul Walker Brian gets off the dam. Paul Walker Brian, that actually sounds like a good name. Paul Walker, actor, character Brian. Brian jumps on a car after he gets off a train that Dom is driving, and they can't slow down, whatever it is, and they soar off of a cliff, and they time it out right, and they jump off of it, out of the car. Brian jumps off of it. Dom jumps out of it, the car that is, and lands, from God knows how many feet up into water. And you can't jump into water. There's people that jump off of, the Golden State Bridge or Golden Gate Bridge or whatever the fuck it is, and they die. People commit suicide doing that. Yes, again, we're getting to that point where it's ridiculous, but it's fun ridiculous, and you can almost, you're like, it is in the water. You can kind of put the thoughts on the back burner and enjoy the movie. It's not so in your face to where you're like, this is fucking crazy. Then the 6th one happens. That whole movie, similar stuff to that, where it's over the top, but it's fun, and it doesn't take you completely out of the movie. It's like, okay, it embraces its cheesiness. It works. There's only one scene in the 6th one, and because it's one scene, and it's the first time it happens, you roll your eyes like, okay, they went a little far with that one, and then it gets back on track. Was the scene where Dom timed it out and leaped out of his car, tackled Letty from one overpass to the next, and then landed with his back into a windshield and protected her. That was the one scene where it's like, oh, okay, that was a little much. So we haven't really had this type of stuff. This one takes it there, and then some. It has a similar kind of scene where somebody falls into a windshield with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson when there's a bomb, and he jumps into, what's her name? Forget her name. No, I'm talking about other cop. Leaps into her, protects her, shields her, kind of like Dom did Letty, and falls from, I don't know, what feels like 7 stories up. And, it's The Rock, so you're like, maybe. No, not really. You're looking at this, and you're like, this is fucking crazy. But again, it's just one scene. But then we come back again, and we got a head-on collision. I mean, Jason Statham and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson go full-on head-on collision, and they're basically, Jason Statham is just like, I'm going to crack my neck, and gets out of the fucking car, and then Dom's alive too. But it full speed, just complete what they were thinking, exactly what their motives were to slam into each other, full speed, bang, head-on collision. They're fine. No hospital visits, nothing. Then we have the cliff. This scene, this is where it really took. I was already like, I think when I first watched the movie, I was like, okay, out of a building though, and onto a car, and I was like, head-on collision, what? And then this scene happened, and I think I died laughing the first time I watched it. Really did. And then somebody revived me, and now I'm back here for the review. It's been a long, 8 years, or however long this movie's been out. But thank you for reviving me and letting me come out for the review, because it was a long death. Because that shit had me dying laughing. When he rescues would be a better word. He rescues what the girl from Game of Thrones. I don't remember her name. I'm sorry, people. The guy they rescued from Tony Jaa and the crew. When they rescue her, and then they're sitting there, and they're about to drive off the cliff. It's the cliff scene because they have nowhere to go. Digimon Hansu, I think is how you pronounce his name. he's like yelling at him. They're going to shoot him. And she's looking at Dom like, bro, what are you doing? That's the wrong way. Because he turns to the cliff and he's like, is it? Or something like that. And he's just like, I remember being like, what? They're not gonna. And he's like, I would have put a helmet on. And he just drives off of a cliff. Ka-clank. Roll, 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 roll. Ka-clank. Ka-clank. And then at the very bottom, Dom just kind of kicks himself out with like a cut on his forehead. And they're all standing there like, oh, we're good to go. This is what we do in Fast and the Furious. And I am laughing the whole time. I was like, this motherfucker just purposely drove off a cliff. I mean, it's funny. It's entertaining. It's turn your brain off. But the turn your brain off is getting harder to turn off, if you will. I don't know. Doesn't ruin the movie for me. In fact, I enjoy stupid shit like this to some degree. Sometimes it really works. Sometimes it doesn't. These things are hard to quantify, people. But in Fast and the Furious, I think whatever over-the-topness they had going in 5 and 6, that's the perfect amount, you know? You want some over-the-topness in this franchise. 7, this one, is where it just went. And there's more. I mean, come on. We want to talk about Dom at the end of the movie where he fucking is on the top of a parking garage, ramps it, somehow plants grenades on a helicopter. Yeah, he ramps it into a helicopter, sideswipes it, comes straight down on the front of the car. And they at least made it look like, you know, he might not make it, but you knew he would. It's Dom. And he's like, he's fine. You heard me, right? You've seen this movie, but you've heard me as well. He ramped a parking garage, slammed into a helicopter, planted grenades, and fell flat on the face, the front of the car, and then fell some more because he like landed on I guess that was supposed to break his fall a little bit. I'm not beating this movie up. I'm not. It sounds like I am because I still enjoy this movie. I'll come out and say it. I really do. But this is the start of where I was talking about the waning was starting to begin. There's a difference in being like over the top and just turn your brain off, and then there's just like, I got to think about this one because it's so in my face. I'm watching, you know, you're like the potential destruction and the other ones. This one, I'm watching the full-on destruction and people are crawling out of the wreckage. It's just, it's a little much. Like I said, sometimes it works for me. In this franchise, the sweet spot is 5 and 6. 7, we're getting crazy. The fucking 8th one, I haven't got to it yet, has a scene where Dwayne The Rock Johnson picks up a missile and re-guides. You know, we're getting a little superhero-esque and then some by the 7th one. Nevertheless, though, I just had to touch on that because you knew it was coming. If you watch my other reviews, this is where it starts. And I thought it started more in 8, but I was wrong. So 7 does get held back a little bit for me. Let's talk about some positives, though. Tony Jaa is in this movie, just like Joe Taslim in the last movie. Thank you. His little fight scenes and shit are, you know, they're not Tony Jaa, like, dope, but, like, it's fine. It is what it is. It's cool to see Tony Jaa in a Fast and the Furious movie. And he has a couple of nice little battles with Paul Walker. Particularly like the last one where he's like, too slow. And then Paul Walker's able to get him back with the too slow. You know, that was a nice little callback. Even if there's a little bit of me every time, it's like, really, Paul Walker's going to beat up Tony Jaa? You know what, Brandon? This is Paul Walker's movie. Let him shine. So I'm not even going to go there. Paul Walker would absolutely whoop Tony Jaa's ass. Just kidding. Either way, it's a fucking movie, right? But those fight scenes are fun enough. Ah, man. And really, let's talk about we're talking about bad guys, right? Tony Jaa. Let's talk about the main bad guy. Jason Statham's a solid bad guy. He's a good bad guy in this movie. He is. He's very menacing in terms of, I don't think he's like downright scary in this movie, but you really are made clear. It's really made clear that he is not afraid to take everything that you love and fuck you up. And he does that from the jump. Like when he blew up the house and you were like, oh my God. And then you saw he killed Han. It turns out it was him at the end of the last movie and then going into this movie. And then what he did to Dwayne The Rock Johnson. And then after the house blew up, he's like, you don't know me, but you will know me. It was like, okay, like this dude's making a stamp, and plus you already know this guy. This is Jason Statham. I'm invested. I still don't think he's a great villain, but this is the best villain so far. Other than, again, The Rock and Fast Five, but he's not a full-on antagonist. As far as, like, you know, he's a cop trying to do good. You know what I mean? But this is the best flat-out villain to this point. Good villain. Not great, but, you know, solid. Little bonus, especially for this franchise. The fight scene with Jason Statham and Vin Diesel, I'm mixed on it. It's good. It's, you know, brute strength with a little more agile going on with Statham. It's not bad. It's a decent time. But I have a nitpicky thing. For me, I hate it when you jump back and forth in a fight scene. It was like, here's what these guys are doing. They're fighting. And it's like, okay, cut to the rest of the team. Just go boom, 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 boom. Let them each shine in their own moment. Don't cut here, cut here, cut here. When I'm getting into the meat of the fight scene, I'm like, oh, yeah, it's getting good. And then you cut away. I'm like, oh, man, but I'm watching the fight scene. It's like somebody fucking turning the channel, you know? Like, you're like, I mean, sure, like, I want to watch Tom and Jerry, but right now I'm watching Cat Dog. Put it back on Cat Dog. And I flip back to Cat Dog, and I'm like, well, what happened while I was gone? It's like, I like both things, but space them out. Don't cut them up. Don't cut them up. I wish they wouldn't do that with fight scenes. This is a problem I have in this fight scene. It cuts back to what they're doing, then it's back to the fight scene, then it's back to what they're doing, then it's back to the fight scene. Just let the fucking fight scene play out. I don't know why movies do this. Fine, but could have been better if it would have stuck on that. But I actually was liking what I was seeing overall. It was entertaining. And the ending in general in this movie, I thought was great. It was amazing. Paul Walker dying, the little tribute they had, I noticed this time because I was looking for it more. Definitely, this is cuts from like a race from what the fuck, Fast and the Furious 5. There's a moment where they're all looking at each other out, and it's like the same thing. Paul Walker smile. It's like the same, you know, facial expression. So it's cut from that and dragged into this because obviously with the untimely death of Paul, R.I.P. God rest his soul. Very sad and touching. They had to kind of patch something together, but I mean, it works well. Of course, with that song Wiz Khalifa made for him. Not a huge Wiz fan. Love his earlier work. Anything really past Kush and Orange Juice for the most part. Not that big of a fan. But this was, you know, given the time, everything. It was a solid song. And it goes well with the movie. And it's sad, dude. It's sad watching them, you know, kind of saying their goodbyes in the movie in a different way because he's obviously going to do something new. He's not going to hang around with the crew anymore. But you can even see like tears in like Letty's eyes, and the way they're saying bye, it feels final. There's some finality to it. It's sad. You feel it as a viewer where you're like, damn, bro, this is it. This is the last time we're going to see Paul Walker. Like, not just in these movies in general, like beyond that. That is just sad. Tragedy that happened to him. And just the irony of it being, you know, like in a car, speeding is just, it's wild. Crazy stuff. But definitely, like, every time I watch it, about chokes me up every time. I'm like, damn, bro. Like, life is bigger than that, man. Crazy shit. Other than that, though, man, I don't really have many gripes with this movie. There's still set pieces I like. Even ones that are... Here's a ridiculous one. When they're fucking going to steal the car, and there's 3 buildings, and Vin Diesel is crashing through each building. He's like, no brakes. For me, this falls more in line with the 5 and 6 ridiculousness. Because it's like, could you do that? No, it's probably not going to happen. But, you know, it's a movie. Like, let's act like you can do it. It's, you know, like, I'm not going to bet on you speeding up and crashing through it, but I didn't technically really see you get hurt. People ramp shit all the time. You're landing on 4 tires, you know, and then you bail out. I can suspend my disbelief. But when you're actually, I'm seeing the carnage hit, and like, I can't suspend my disbelief. I watched it happen. I watched the violent nature of what you just did happen to you. That's where it differs. So, like, there was good scene. Ronda Rousey, can't act worth a fuck, but she's entertaining. Her little fight with Letty was kind of cool. Tyrese, Ludacris, all the same goofy charm. I mean, it's a fine movie. It's good. I think I'm even would say it's really good by a hair. But it's definitely where it's the first one where the fatigue crept in. Like, there's times when I'm having a good time, but there's times where I'm watching it where I'm like, okay, like, And then what? Then you're already in the back of your mind. You're like, and then Paul Walker's not going to be in the next one. We'll see. I didn't have that at the end of 5 and 6. When I left 5, I was like, oh shit. I was like, they're on to something here. Bring on the 6th one. 6th one ended. I'm like, damn, how they going to come back from this? This is going to be interesting. 7th one, I'm like, that was good. They still got it. I mean, where are they going to go from here without Paul Walker? It's getting pretty fucking crazy, isn't it? Like, I mean, it's been crazy, but it's wow. Might be diving into it too much now, but I mean, it's entertaining. It is what it is. It's not bad. It's Fast and the Furious. We'll see what the 8th one brings. There's a little bit of skepticism rather than being all my chips in on the table. So this is where it peaks in. But is it good? Yeah, still fucking good movie. I'll be back, guys, with the 8th installment. Oh, one more gripe. The Rock, man. Basically just sat down the entire movie. I didn't like that. I wanted The Rock to be in the flow of the movie. I didn't like the fact that he was in a hospital the entire time. I wanted him to be with the crew. It's my dog. And he's amazing in these movies when he gets to shine. Let The Rock shine, damn it. Also, when he did get to shine, when he had that minigun, that was fucking dope. Love that scene. Love miniguns. I think that goes back to like Predator being my 3rd favorite movie of all time. Always loved miniguns. With Blaine or Mac when he mows down the jungle. Seeing The Rock just fucking lighting up this helicopter, holding that shit. He looked like a complete badass. Needed more of him in this movie. Like I said, though, all good. Good movie. We're good. We're still in the good territory. We will be back with Fate of the Furious. Get it? Fate 8. Yeah, a little play on words they did. But they didn't want to do for Fast X, fasten your seatbelts. Fasten your seatbelts. It's a terrible joke everybody knows by now, but I figured, how on the nose this franchise is. I thought they might have dove into it. They should have. Love you guys. Peace.